We thought we offered you guys some tough choices from our original list of 17 that you had to choose from, but you guys thought there was only one runaway most controversial moment, taking 47% of the vote. It's the Montreal Screwjob.
Dun dun! Number one controversial moment in wrestling.
That has to be number one. You know, if I think about it, yeah, that's awesome.
Really?
I'm sorry, but the Montreal Screwjob is wrestling. It's wrestling.
It's part of the business.
I think that happens every day, all the time. Who cares? What do you do? You know? That's how it used to be. You know? People tell somebody to do something one way, and, you know, the other guy in there would, you know, screw them or do whatever has to be done. That's where professional wrestling was professional wrestling. It's not all the entertainment business.
I don't even think that was very controversial myself.
I don't see what the big deal is. Come on. What is the big deal of that? I don't get what the big deal is, because Bret went crazy. You know, Shawn was only doing what Shawn's doing. Vince had to do what was right for the company. Somebody doesn't want to drop something at a certain time, you drop it. When the boss comes to you and say, hey, I want you to drive me over here, you don't go, I ain't driving you nowhere. You ain't getting in my car.
Bret should have freaking done what Vince has wanted him to do. You know, big deal. Come on.
Yeah, I was right there. I was right there for the Montreal Screwjob, too. I was sitting right next to Jim Neidhart and Davey Boy Smith. I still don't know what to think of that Screwjob. Half of me wants to believe it was a shoot, and half of me wants to believe it was bullcrap.
Wow. The Montreal Screwjob, to me, was so well planned out. To this day, I don't care who says what, I don't buy it.
Although, and I might piss a lot of people off by saying this, Wrestling with Shadows, I saw it in a van with a bunch of guys. We were driving to Fort Lauderdale, and I think Wrestling with Shadows was is probably one of the biggest works ever. I find it hard to believe that Vince McMahon let a camera come around and document that whole thing while it was going on. But the Screwjob itself, yeah, absolutely the most controversial moment. And what a great way to take a title off somebody than to do it that way.
Oh my God, that was insane. It was that was such a crazy night when Bret walked out of Vince's room and then Vince walked out with a black eye. This was always my opinion. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but it was way too quick for Vince to have such a black eye.
I was right there up until the point where Vince got punched in the locker room. And then I got asked to leave the locker room, so I never got to see a punch thrown. So, but I did see Bret Hart's wife's reaction. She was livid, cursing out everybody in the back, and I was one of the people that she came up yelling to in a positive sense because I knew the Hart family very well. Could I believe it was a total screw job all the way? Yeah. Could I believe they worked the whole thing? Yeah.
They wanted to get Bret out of there some way, and I guess that was the only way they felt they could do it. Do I think Shawn was in on it? Yeah.
I would have sided with Bret if it was legit, because I don't think Bret's the kind of guy that mixes too many words. I think Bret said it was a shoot, and it was a shoot.
Bret, you were wrong. That's my position. And I don't, controversial. Vince was right. Bret was wrong. I know freaking I'm gonna get backlash from that. And I love you, Bret, but you were wrong.
Bret Hart was, a star of the company for many years. He still is a superstar. I felt he really got wronged. And, but on many occasions, Vince just does what he wants to do. Is it right? Absolutely not.
He feels he was wronged, and since it's the entertainment business and scripted and all this, they changed the script on him, so they on purpose screwed him. So yeah, he has the right to be mad.
Everyone was given the opportunity to step forward and do the right thing. They knew what was going to happen, and they had sat down and planned it all out. That you know, we want you to do this and we want him to do this, and we'd like for you, you're leaving the company, and the right thing for you to do would be do this. And same as they sat down with me when I refused to do the angle. It wasn't about Randy at all, had nothing to do with him, but I just felt like it wasn't time for me to lose the belt on television. If they'd said we'll do it tomorrow night off TV, I'd have said sure, no problem. But you know, Bret had his issues with losing in Canada, as opposed to maybe losing anywhere.
Again, you know, working in the inside, that was a business decision. And I see both sides of the story, because I understand how much Bret valued his being a Canadian and how he was looked at with the success that he reached as a heavyweight champion. And it wasn't that Bret didn't want to go out the right way and, as Vince called it, do the honors. Bret came from a background where he understood that was the right thing to do. He just didn't want to do it in Montreal.
I can't drop it in Montreal because I'm Canadian. You know, I put over a fake Doink the Clown 20 minutes from my house in New Jersey. You know, it happens, man. You know what I mean?
Bret, Vince gave you your biggest break in the business. You were there when I was there in '85. When I was gone, you carried on. You got a break with Neidhart as a tag team. He made you into a superstar. He made you into a superstar. Okay, things evolve. We all get older. We have to pass the torch. We have to do what's asked of us. Okay, so you have your creative hand in the thing. Okay, cool. But when it's asked of you to do something, and then you know, I look at both sides of that. Well, first of all, Bret, I would have never done what you did. I would have done what was asked of me, and I would have got myself over in the match, so the finish wouldn't have mattered. That's what my argument to so many guys out there. They all, I can't do that, I can't do that. If you go out there and you get yourself over, it doesn't matter what you do, because people are going to remember you for what you were doing out there. You were entertaining them for 15 minutes. Why should they be concerned about 3 seconds?
I think it was the wrong thing to do to Bret. At the time, I had just ended a very close relationship with Shawn, but we won't go into that. So I wasn't exactly a fan of his at the moment, but it was definitely the wrong thing to do to Bret. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways you could have, you know, finished that up. But yeah, that was a little effed up.
There for a couple years, all I heard was how upset he was. How despicable did he do this? And then I think I remember, didn't Bret Hart go back to work for Vince? So how upset was he? Case closed.
Here's what I think happened here. The company was in trouble. Bret Hart was going away to WCW. They were in real big trouble, and what are we going to do? Well, Dan, why don't we make Mr. McMahon the biggest badass heel in the history of this business? How? We're going to screw you in the middle of the ring. This is what's going to happen, and nobody's going to know the difference. And, hey, Bret, you want to punch me out afterwards? Do it.
Well, there's no question. I mean, that's not the way to handle any situation. Vince wouldn't want it done to him.
You get paid to do this job, and very well, and when they say to do something and you don't do it, and, well, they'll find ways around it. Vince is a master, and he'll find ways around it.
Vince wants what he wants, and I love him for being Vince McMahon, for lasting longer than any other television show on television. So, yes, it sucks. But at the end of the day, like, everything comes around. What goes around comes around, and it's wrestling. Come on. Shit happens.
It was a business decision made by the company to do the best interests of the company that this man owned.
Do I think it was just a lesson to be learned? Yeah, I do. You don't mess with Vince McMahon, or and you do your job, whether it's, you know, in the States or in Canada or wherever it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, it was so overboard to me. It really was. It just went, it was craziness. Craziness.
Vince, the owner of the company, can do anything he wants to do. If that's how he wants to switch titles or do whatever he wants to do, he has the right to do anything he wants to do. And that's what he did. And if whoever doesn't like it, they don't ever have to work for him, or they don't have to take his money.
I'll take Vince's side in that. And not to be an ass kisser, maybe I'll get a spot someday, but just because, you know, Bret's leaving. He's leaving the company. It's a pay-per-view. Drop the belt. What's the problem? Drop the fucking belt. You know what I mean? You're going to WCW, making a boatload of money. You're getting paid. Be a professional. And like we said, it's fixed anyway. You know, drop the belt. Be a professional. Drop the fucking belt, Bret.
Vince made a tough decision again to involve some other people and said this is the way it has to be done. And it wouldn't have been number one on my list.
Ringing the bell early didn't mean he beat me. The guy across the ring better have a damn good excuse, or he's not getting the belt. Or he might get the belt, but he might not leave the ring the way he came in.
Back in that day, I was really kind of in that crew. You know, I was directly involved, but indirectly involved. I didn't know anything that was happening, but, you know, I kind of just minded my business and listened when I was talked to, and otherwise I just kind of did my own thing. So I was completely shocked. I thought, you know, when they were talking about the match or whatever, that, you know, it was just kind of common stuff. You know, if somebody does one move, how are you going to react? Or maybe this person has, you know, an ego that night, and they might do something, you know, or if they make a mistake, how are you gonna balance that out? When it happened, I was just as much in shock as everybody else. And then I remember walking back to the hotel after that, and there was this rabid fan, this girl, and she jumped on my back, and she was, ah, you know, and I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Because I was right there in the hallway outside of the locker room door. Bret walked out. Literally a minute later, Vince walked out. And I don't know if you've ever had a black eye before, but I have. It takes a little while for that eye to actually get that black. So actually, Chris Candido and I always had our own little idea that that it was. This is our, you know, espionage idea that we had back in the day, that it was set up beforehand. They knew it was going to happen, and we always said, we bet you that Vince had his own son punch him in the eye, make it look good, make it come out, so it would look like Bret did it. That was always our little espionage theory.
If I was really upset with him, I certainly wouldn't go to work for him again. No matter how much money he's offered me. It's a matter of principle.
I knew that there was something going on, but I thought maybe it was a personal disagreement or some kind of tension, which is sometimes normal between, you know, two top performers. So, but I never expected that, not in a million years.
Maybe Ted DiBiase was right. Everybody's got a price.
It didn't justify taking his belt back, but people are still talking about it to this day. So did it hurt or did it help him? I don't know, because if that didn't happen, would they still be talking about it? Who knows? But because it happened, because the screw job happened, that's something for people to talk about. It's for stories to go on. There has been so many things that have happened that I've seen in the past that I'm glad happened, just because you know that that person's name is now in infamy.
I think they were all in on it. Everybody was in on it. And today it is still one of the most controversial pieces of business in wrestling. But I will never believe that they weren't all in on it. That's just my take.
I've been in that situation a few times myself, and I'm not alone. Can you take the belt from me? If you can have it. If you can't, I'm going to walk out with the belt.